All right, y'all. Today's guest, he needs no introduction, but I'm going to give him one anyway because he deserves it. He's one of the smartest and sharpest marketing minds in the mortgage space, in my humble opinion. He's tech forward, he's a strategist, probably the guy who will drop industry truth bombs in your face. It'll actually hurt your feelings at the same time. So, without further ado, buckle up, folks. Jason Frazier is in the building. Jason, how are you, sir?
What's up, KT? Hey, thanks for the intro. I don't know if I will hurt people's feelings, but yeah. Now you just gave me something to live up to, right?
There you
Now I gotta
go.
do that.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Yeah.
Well, Jason, I'm glad you're here today to share with our audience, our industry. Obviously, you've got your hands in a lot of, a couple of different things that you
Yep.
really stand by, that you like to promote. You have a way of thinking, a way of seeing marketing through a different lens that a lot of loan officers have struggles with.
Hmm.
And there's just so many things um, that we've learned from you over the years. I know you and I have drank from the same cup when it comes to just business strategists that
Hmm.
have us look at marketing differently. And it's always been look at what everyone else is doing and do the complete opposite. It's
Yep.
okay to be outrageous. It's okay to do all these
Hmm.
things from a marketing perspective. And I'm sure we'll cover some of these things today. But what I'm most excited about and what I want to share with people is the Green Zone project. Y'all just had a book released. You and Darren Copeland, y'all
Yep.
had this book released, became number one seller on Amazon for its
Hmm.
space, correct?
Yep.
And I want to talk about that because it's kind of a big deal.
Hmm.
And if someone's listening to this and you haven't got that book, I'd certainly encourage you to do it. But what I want to talk about is, you know, what inspired you and Darren to write the Green Zone project? What was it? How was it different from a lot of these other industry books that we might see in our space?
Yeah. It's a great question, and what it came down to for me personally, writing a book has been on like my bucket list for years. And I've started, I've stopped, I started, I've stopped. And my wife's an author. She's been published, several times, and totally different genre, obviously. But so it's just something I've always wanted to do. And so at the beginning of this year, DC and I, I've obviously, we all know each other back from when we were all in Next Level, and so, DC and I have remained, good friends throughout. And then, he started coaching with us at 2020. And then, just through my partnership with him and helping him out and working together, we decided to team up to do, because he has and I want to give credit 100% to DC for the Green Zone name is that, he talks about that. And I've had him on our calls, our weekly success calls, which are now the high performance call. And so he had this thing called the Green Zone, and he was talking about what his routines and habits were that helped him become a top 1% loan officer. That's helped him, create and build a great brokerage in Summit Lending. And um and so at the beginning of this year, we decided to do a 3-month cohort that we called the Green Zone, right? So we called it the Green Zone Growth Cohort. And so what we did is we did uh almost like around like 3.5 hours of instructional calls. We opened it up to everyone, didn't charge anything for it.
Right.
And we had about 1,000 people who were like, "Hey, yeah, I'm into it." At the end of the Green Zone, as you could tell, like it trailed off. We had probably maybe about like 60 some people that remain out of the 1,000 that actually committed to it. Now, those people that committed to it, they saw results, right? They saw results, as we said. And look, it's free. And if you guys do it, one thing that DC says all the time is that if you follow this, like your success is inevitable. And then what we did together is the fact that DC has his experience and expertise as a loan officer, as a leader of loan officers. I have my expertise um, in consumer direct and marketing, growth, and generating volume that way. And so we basically combined efforts together to create the Green Zone cohort. And then after that was done, we got so much great feedback that I was like, you know what, DC, like, let's write a book. Let's take let's take what we just did for the first half of the year, because we did it over, a 3 month, started in February, So in a 3-month period, like, let's write a book about it. Let's take everything that we talked about, the questions, the feedback, our answers to those questions, and put, because we had it all recorded, we had it all transcribed, we had all the content. Let's just bring it all together and write a book. And so created an outline, did it, and over the series of a couple months, we wrote this book called The Green Zone Project, which essentially is the playbook for any loan officer, no matter where you're at in your business, doesn't matter how many loans you're doing, new, experience, doesn't matter. But it's what we call an evergreen playbook, meaning like the things that you're going to learn in this don't go out of style. Meaning, if I wrote like a book about Facebook groups, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, that'd have been awesome 10 years ago. Like today, not so much, right? So like the principles that we put into this book are evergreen, meaning they're always going to be in style. And so what we didn't want is what most other, and this is where I would say, to answer your question about how's it different, is that, and I don't want anyone to take this on a dig from other coaches and authors, but the thing is that they take it through their own lens about what made them successful, right? And that's great for them. And if you are a loan officer cut from that same cloth, you will find success in those trainings too. But what we wanted to do is we wanted to create something that it didn't matter what you did. It didn't matter what you focused on, what you thought was important or not thought was important, as long as you follow this framework and then put what you do and what you do best within this framework, you basically build your own green zone from it. And so I think that's what's different, is that it's not a one size fits all, so to speak, like strategy that we're like, hey, call a bunch of agents, do this, do that, like a lot of other people do. It's like, hey, do all of these things. Plus it's the way it's different. It's just combined from my expertise in the industry, his expertise in the industry, which really hasn't ever been done before, and put that all together in a playbook. And like I said, your success, if you follow it, your success is inevitable. We got the feedback, the reviews already from people that are doing it. I get DMs all the time from people that are reading the book, they're trying it out, and then they're texting me the screenshots of the responses they're getting from it. So it works. And it's not a question of if it works. And again, we did this to help loan officers. We price, it's under $10, both the digital version and the paperback. We're not in it to make money. We're not in it to become bestsellers. We're in it to make an impact. And that's why it's different, in my opinion, than what else is out there.
Yeah, not just another playbook. I'm gonna tell you, man, you hit the nail on the head, and I was thinking it before you said it, and it was, with yours and Darren's combined experience, it produces a very unique, playbook or,
Mm-hmm.
game plan that works. Now, I've been around DC long enough, and I've known him for 20 years, and we've been in coaching groups together.
Mm-hmm.
We've helped each other sharpen our axe. He's a very high level guy. He's one of the best in the business when it comes to just growth and scaling. He's a great originator. He's still in the trenches originating loans. He's just built, especially the last couple of years, he's just built an amazing culture.
Yep.
And he's probably one of the most up and coming originators. And he's been doing it for 20 plus years
Mm-hmm.
as I have as well. And so if you're, anything, I feel like Darren and I have been through all of the pains, all of the suffering, all of the
Mm-hmm.
things that don't work, and really, wisdom does matter. When you
Yep.
have experience and wisdom and you put it all together, it's trimming that learning curve for the next generation of originators coming along. And I know that DC cares about that at a high level. And I feel like he always gives more, both of you guys, y'all give more than you take in value from people. And it doesn't go unnoticed. How about that?
Yeah.
So
Well,
we
I
certainly
appreciate that.
appreciate it.
Yeah.
So in the book, you talk about the struggle bunny syndrome. What is it, and how does it keep loan officers stuck?
Yeah, so
What
that's
is
funny
that?
because
Yeah,
so and just because DC talks about that all the time. We talked about
yeah.
that quite a bit in Next Level, but
Struggle bunny. Yeah,
the struggle bunnies, and it's a term of endearment. But what it comes down to, and it takes a lot of different forms, right? And you just know the loan officers that are always struggling, right? Like, and it's not for want of them not working hard, and that's what I want to make sure
right.
it makes clear, is that it has nothing to do with them being lazy, but they just seem to really focus and put their foot on the gas on the wrong freaking things, or they
Right.
get distracted by the shiny, objects, and they try this, they give it like 2 weeks to work, it doesn't work, so they move on to the next one, they move on to the next one, they move on to the next one. Those are the struggle bunnies, right? And they're trying to do, they think they're doing right, but they're not. Like they just struggle. They're always on the struggle bus. And so it was funny when I was creating the outline, and I'm all, dude, like one of the chapters is going to be struggle bunny, like that's, it's just like struggle bunny island. We got to talk about it. And he was, he thought it was hilarious, but like, that's his thing, right? Like, and that, we wanted to make sure is that, look, it's about focus and discipline when it comes down to it. And so for, and look, we've all been there. I have been a struggle bunny too, by not letting things play out and, trying to jump on the trends. And so a lot of these things, guys, like this book is based off of our learning as well. So I don't want anyone to come that like, hey, we're talking down on someone. It's basically, we learned through all of this stuff, right? And now we're at a certain level to where we could teach and coach it. But ultimately, like, we went through it too, so we understand what it is. But when it comes down to it, the struggle bunnies are the ones that they're the more challenging, because along with that, unfortunately, is also the mindset of like, no, you can't coach them, you can't train them or teach, like they're stuck in their ways until there's enough pain to where they like raise their hand and, all right, like, look, I'm willing to try something different.
Yeah. I will say this, and you're so kind. I like that about you, Jason. You're kind. But sometimes the struggle bunnies, it is because they're lazy. And it's okay.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean, and just because
Yeah.
you're right about that, doesn't mean you should say it, but sometimes people are lazy.
Oh,
And if
well,
you
yeah,
feel
of
like,
course.
yeah,
Yeah.
and if
Yeah.
you feel like you're not doing the work and you're not getting the
Yep.
result that you need, you really got to look inward. So for you lazy LOs out there, like, if you're honest with yourself, like, like I have
Oh,
days
yeah.
where I was like, man, I
Yep.
was lazy today, or I didn't do great today. I could have done so much better. And it's okay. It's just acknowledging it and course correcting to,
Mhm.
improve and to be better and
Yep.
to be more consistent.
Yep.
So in the book, you guys break it down to like yellow, blue, and green
Mhm.
zones, right? Can you walk us through what each of those mean and why that structure is so important?
Yeah. So when I was kind of outlining the book, and I looked at it, and again, I'm a marketer, so I'm like, how do we make this different? How do we make it creative? How do we make a book, a playbook that someone could follow through, and create
Yeah.
what I call anchor points for things for them to have actionable takeaways from each chapter they read. And so what came to my mind first is like, oh, I got it. Like, it's really 3 stages when it comes down to it. And so I said, and yellow plus blue equals green, right? So I'm
Yeah.
like, there we
Yeah.
go. And I'm all, yellow, that has to do with what? Usually has to do with like warnings, right? Blue, that's generally known as like good. And then green is obviously go, right? And so the way that we broke it down is that, and each chapter has one of these, each lessons, there's a yellow, blue, and green part of that. Is the yellow is where you're getting brutally honest with yourself. That's the warning zone, meaning like,
Yeah.
and that's the learning zone. That's where you're like, okay, I need to change something, or I need to do something to grow. And I also, and part of that is also like the 3 stages of growth that I talk about in the book as well. And so the yellow zone is that brutally honest, like, take inventory of where you're at. That's where you look, have the hard conversation with yourself in the mirror, saying, where am I screwing up? You got to take accountability and responsibility. It all starts there. If you're not willing to do that, then it doesn't matter what coach or anyone you go to. If you're not willing to take responsibility and accountability of where you're at today, because where you're at today is exactly where you decided to be based off your choices, right? You may
Yeah.
not be happy with it, but ultimately you got to take responsibility for that. So that's the yellow zone. The blue zone is where you start creating the structures, start putting things into place, start building your systems and processes around like the actions you're going to take. And then the green zone is where you're living it. It's the implementation stage. That's where you're doing the things. It's, you start building the good habits, you start building the good routines, you start doing everything that you need to do to live in that green zone, because living in that green zone consistently is going to lead to growth.
Yeah. So the green zone would be really just, revenue generating activities. Let's talk a little bit about that and what
Mhm.
are they? Like, what
Yeah.
are they? What are those activities? What do you think loan officers, would consider those, revenue generating activities inside that green zone? And why is it so important for them to have that 2 hour block consistently?
Mhm. Yeah, and this goes back to what I was saying, is that we create we've one thing with DC, and as well. is that you have to give loan officers, you can't just give them a blank piece of paper and say, this is where you do your money making activities, and then just give it to them and hope that they figure it out. Right.
Yeah.
They need, now also the flip side of that, the dangerous side is that, and this is something I experience quite a bit. And is that like when you give them examples, then they latch onto those examples as gospel and they don't do anything other than those things like word for word, right? Verbatim. Now, so what we did is like, this is where I go back to saying like, this is a framework to put in like things that, work. And my definition of works is that it's dependable and repeatable, meaning if you do X, then Y should happen. Okay. And if it does, then it works. If it doesn't, then it doesn't work no matter what story you're telling yourself. And so when we look at like what those activities are, we gave some examples in the book, the 5x5 strategy, which is sending like the 5 gratitude videos every day, 5 days a week. Right. So that's one example. The one is like the 2-hour block is sending the text, doing social media content, sending out emails, whatever it is that moves your business forward. And again, you have to go back to work. Now, we gave examples in the book so that way you don't start from scratch. But the 5x5 is the one that I think makes the biggest impact. It's evergreen. You're never not going to get some positive traction by sending gratitude videos to people every single day and be consistent about it. And that's how you stay first in thought. And so those would be like the money making activities. Now, those activities could also be other things. Like one of your money making activities could be that like I make sure that I do 5 in-person meetings, appointments with either clients, prospects, leads, referral partners 3 times a week or 5 times whatever it is, whatever that happens to be. That's what it is.
Yeah, maybe writing thank you cards
100%,
3 times a day,
Yep.
which is something that I'm a big fan of doing,
Yep.
Definitely.
Yep.
I want to stop for just a second because
Okay.
there's we're talking, I mean, great stuff you're sharing and certainly appreciate it. But then like sometimes loan officers just don't want to move, right?
Mhm.
They're stuck, whatever. And what I want to say is like, guys, if you're serious about what you say you want, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And I think all too often people, they might start off really good. And then it's like they're standing in the doorway to success and they stop doing the things because it
Yeah.
doesn't happen overnight. It's almost like it's like working out, Jason.
Mm-hmm.
You don't go to the gym to work out in that first day or that first week of working out that you're going to see
Yep.
the results and be like,
Yep.
yay, I worked out. This is what it's a process.
Mm-hmm.
It's a lifestyle. It's a decision.
Yep.
And you just have to start and stop. A lot of people are just stop stopping. I would say just start, be consistent. It didn't have to be perfect, but what I seem to see what happens in a lot of originators is you build momentum and it's one win at a time and it's course correcting and it's learning. But God dang, man, you got to be committed to the process. And people sometimes say, well, what's commitment mean to you, KT? You have high expectations. You damn right I do. And
Yep.
I also have a lot of success because of it. And I'm doing the same thing that you're talking about, Jason, these money making activities and living in this green zone. Like I do that every single day. And there are seasons or there have been times in my career where I would get away from it a little
Yep.
bit.
Yeah.
I'd feel it. I'd
Oh yeah.
feel it.
Yep.
And people would be like, hey, KT, where you been? I'm like, are you serious? Like, what do you mean where I've been? I'm right here. And they're just like, you just kind of seem like you've been hiding a little bit. I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, shoot, boy, I had been, not intentionally, but
Yep.
unintentionally. It's time to course correct. But when people ask me that question, what's commitment mean to you, KT? It's moving a mountain with a shovel.
Mm-hmm.
It's being committed, man, at a very high level. And I just want to bring that to you guys because it's so important.
Yeah.
Because so many people say they want all these things, but they're not willing to do the work. And no one's coming to save you. So you got to do it. You got to be consistent with it. Or you're not going to have the result, period.
Yep.
It's that simple.
Yep.
It really is. And all of the money making activities you're talking about, there's so many. There's probably 500 things you could do, right?
100%. Yep.
I would say find what works for you, what really aligns with your DNA
Mm-hmm.
and how you think about things and what you think you're good at. And I think I've seen that be very successful. There are things I see people doing, like they're doing these things. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to do that. But man, it's working for them. Good for them,
Yeah.
So find out
100%.
what works for you. So anyway, all right. So there's most loan officers out there.
Mm-hmm.
They claim that I'm too busy. That's like the number one response that we get from people. Oh, I'm too busy. to build structure. What's your response to that? And what do you think the first steps to reclaiming control of your time are?
Yeah, that's a great question. All right. Well, so let's tackle the first one, right? So when it comes down to like being too busy, one is sure, right? Like we could all be busy, but are you busy doing the right thing? And here's the thing is that if you're too busy to build structure, then you're going to have challenges, meaning you cannot succeed without structure. Now, you may have some semblance of structure that's gotten you where you're going or you're doing whatever, but at some point, the walls will come. I've seen it universally, top producers, mid level producers, low producers, everyone with momentum. I've seen those walls come freaking tumbling down because here's the thing is that when things start, when like market shifts, things outside of your control, rates or whatever happen, it creates chaos. And in chaos, that means you fall back on routines, habits, AKA systems, processes, and structure. If you don't have that to fall back on to keep you on track, then you're going to hit just like peaks and valleys in our industry. You're going to hit that valley and you're going to hit it hard. And so what I would say is that as a coach, there's a thing that I do with every single person that I do one-on-one coaching with, and I give them a daily activity tracker. From sun up to sundown, you track exactly what you do, almost to the minute of what you do during the day. Now, it sucks. I hated doing it. It's definitely will kill your momentum and speed during the day. You got to do it for at least 2 weeks, preferably 30 days. But here's the thing. I've worked with some people that are like high intensity, high achieving, live and die by their calendar, swear to me like they're good on their, their productivity and da 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 da. There has never once, ever, including myself, who I'm pretty regimented, that I have not found freaking waste and time. And so everyone thinks they're busy until they actually look down in the paper and they're like, "Holy crap! Like I didn't know I was spending this much time doing this." Because all we tell these stories in our head, the mind is guys. I'm gonna tell you right now, your brain, your mind is your enemy. Right? It absolutely is your enemy. It's going to tell you to not do the things. It's not going to have you remember what you did that like, oh, I didn't know that I was spending this much time just fumbling around on social media. Someone that's complaining to me that they're busy and it's hurting their personal life. And we look at their activity tracker. I'm like, man, I just like, there's like 5 hours right in there that you're telling me you're too busy. So you're not too busy. And if you are too busy, then you're not busy. If you're in your, okay, let me put it this way. If you're busy and you're happy and everything's going great, then fantastic. Be busy. But if you're busy, busy could never be an excuse for growth. It just can't be, because here's the thing. That means you're busy doing the wrong things. By definition, there's no like that's binary. It's one or a zero, on or off, right? You're
Yeah.
busy doing the wrong things if you're trying to do other things that are going to help you. And so you have to sacrifice. And going back, I want to touch on something you said, right? When like, what does commitment mean to you? Yes, we all have different. I've seen KT, like his his world is definitely on the high upper echelon of stuff as far as like expectations. But here's the thing, guys, commitment means the same thing to anybody, right? It may mean something different to you, but the definition of commitment is the same for every single human being on this planet. Right. And so like you got to decide where you want to do it. And if you're stuck, it's really simple. You have to write down, what do you want? You have to write down how bad do you want it? You have to write down what you're willing to do to get it. And then you're going to have to write down, what am I willing to sacrifice? Those 4 things. If you don't have those 4 things written down and you look at them every single day, then success is going to be hard for you to achieve, because as I mentioned, our brains are our enemy. It's going to want to keep you comfortable. And so if you're not looking at those as anchors, then you're lying to yourself. You're telling yourself another story, and it's going to be hard for you to grow. Ultimately, everything that KT does and I talk about, it's simple. It ain't easy, but the
Yeah.
concepts and the principles and the activities that you do are pretty freaking simple. And so, guys, like, you're telling yourself that you're busy, and you're talking to a guy that's a fractional executive, and I basically have like 5 different jobs that I work at every single day. And I managed to do them all because I am a student and discipline of my time. And I failed because I've been on the other side of that when I haven't. So, and I've been too busy too. Guys, you can do it too.
You know, sometimes loan officers they're like, if some of them would plan their business like they plan their kids' birthday parties,
Exactly.
they'd be
Yep.
substantially more successful. We always
Exactly.
have time. I don't ever think that anyone's too busy. And I can prove it because if you're walking out of the door, maybe you got to drop your kid off at school and then you're heading to work because you've got a full morning, Jason. Like, man, you've
Mhm.
got so many things going. You got clients you got to call. But on the way out, your son steps on a nail, goes all the way through his foot. What are you doing? What are you doing? You're taking him to the ER.
Yep.
We always make time for the things that are important.
Yep.
So the question is your business important? Are your goals important? Well, yeah, they should
100%.
be.
Yep.
So anyway, I just want to throw that out there. So there's something that you guys are very blunt about in the book. Okay. And I kind of, my feelings are hurt a little bit because I've been saying this for 20 years, but I say it just a little bit different. I'm like, man, did y'all change that up because you didn't want to like hurt my feelings? But I've been saying this for years. The loan officer with the most friends makes the most money. But in the book, you guys say the loan officer with the most friends wins, right?
Mhm.
Which is really broader, and I like it so much better. Um, why is relationship building the most valuable skill in our business?
Uh, Look, I could go into a huge diatribe about this, but at the end of the day, relationships equal trust, right?
Yeah,
When you have a true relationship, and I'm talking about relationship with someone, there's
yeah,
trust. And what does trust do? Trust is going to be the channel for which you do all things, right? Or at least are successful at all things, right? If KT didn't trust me and I said, "Hey KT, read this book," right? Or "Hey KT, check out this new software," or "Hey KT, check out this new program or AI tool or whatever." If KT doesn't trust me, it doesn't really matter what I say to him, right? But because we have a good relationship and that relationship is built on trust, like we could have those conversations and vice versa, right? So when we talk about having whoever has the most, friends wins is because ultimately the relationships equals connections equals conversations and conversations equals opportunity for conversions, right? My friends, look, every conversation, like you make your money by having conversations, period. As a loan officer, that's where it starts. And so now there's obviously a lot of things that happen, but it all starts with the conversation. And ultimately, because we're in a commoditized industry and because everyone leads with, not everyone, but a majority of the people lead with like rates and the mechanics of what you do as an originator, as opposed to like, do you stay memorable, right? Relationships create a memorable experience. When it's transactional, you don't know. And guys, I can tell you, I've worked on the servicing side, I've worked on the side of retention. And I can tell you right now that 70% of those consumers at large will go to a different originator or will have no idea who the originator is. I was just talking with a guy that's a speaker. He charges 80K for his speaking engagements. Well-known author. I happened to become friends with the guy. Had him speak at one of my sales rallies, and he was talking to me about like the last few houses that he bought. He couldn't tell me the loan officer on any of those, and he used 3 different loan
yeah.
officers. By the way, he's all, no, they did great. There's nothing wrong with it, but I just don't remember the thing. The booker, I had that same conversation. I brought it up to him too. So that's 2 consumers that use 5 different loan officers for it, and they're not like buying like little properties either, right? 5 different loan officers between 2 people, and none of them could tell me what the name of the loan officer is. None of them created a relationship with them. They could all tell me my name, right? Because I created a relationship with them. And ultimately,
Mhm.
that's what matters. I have personally, when I built like my brand and started doing all this stuff, connecting with agents and loan officers at Snapchat back in 2016, I was a funnel for loan officers and agents to create relationships because they trusted me. And so I connected people. I helped people out because of the connections that I made out there. And it all was built on relationships and that trust. And so
Mm.
I am here today and have had the success that I've had simply because I focus on the relationships. And
Yep.
and if you have enough of those, right? And you have enough friends, so to speak, you're going to win. Again, like we said, your success is inevitable when you do these things.
I've got a confession to make. I'm not the best or smartest loan officer in this industry. I know it's shocking, Jason. It's okay. Um,
I wasn't arguing. I was
okay,
nodding
okay.
along. I was giving you the affirmative,
You
right?
give me
Yeah.
the affirmative. Yeah. No, I say that, it is partly true, right? It is. I'm not the best. I don't know the most, and I don't have to. And there's other things like I don't know how to pull credit. I don't pull credit in my system. I don't know how to run. I've ran AUS in 23 years one time. And that was like in the last 2 or 3 years,
Yep.
because it's like one, I just hit a button, right?
Mhm.
The reason I share that is because I feel like that the things that loan officers think that they have to do and that is going to bring their, that doesn't bring business in the door. I would rather see loan officers invest in themselves. And what I mean by that is some people say, well, it's easy for you, KT. You're fit, you're naturally gifted to talk to people and all of these things, right? That aren't entirely true, right? They don't know. What I'd say is you have to work on yourself. You have to be like, learn how to be more likable, learn how to communicate and connect with people, learn how to use your own gifts and talents as to, interpersonal communications. Like that's important. Language,
Yep.
psychology, like all of these things are so, to me, that's one of the most important things because we are in the people business.
Mm.
Doesn't matter how much you know about mortgages, even the average LO, we know 99.9% more than the consumer does, right? You don't have to know and be the best in the knowledge of loans. It's important to be a student of the industry in that regard, yes, and
Uh-huh.
you get smarter as you go through years. But I just want to make that point that it's not, you don't have to be the smartest. You can just be very likable and you can be very successful. And I'm living proof of that. I can assure you. So,
Yeah, and
well,
DC
listen.
says the same thing, man. I mean,
Oh
guys,
yeah, does
your
it?
highest
Yeah.
and best use of your time isn't to be a loan mechanic.
Yes.
It's to know their goals, create that relationship,
Yeah.
and understand where to put them for the best chance of success to achieve those goals. But it
That's
ain't to
it.
run AUS or credit.
That's
Yep.
it. Yeah, exactly. Man, I've got so many more questions, but I'm not going to get to all of them, Jason, and that's okay. We'll
Yep.
definitely have you back. But in closing, I want to, what's one piece of advice that you could give a loan officer who's overwhelmed, someone that's underperforming and just, man, they're just ready to throw in the towel, man. Like,
Yeah.
what
No.
would you tell
Yeah.
them?
Yeah, it's tough, right? Because everyone needs to hear something different, right? Now, I do and again, this is there's no money involved in this, but I do a daily podcast called Growth Notes, right? It's a
Yeah. Yeah.
24/7.
Great.
It's the only daily podcast in the mortgage industry, and I've been doing it for since May 1st of 2024. And guy, and I talk about this stuff all the time. I would say you got to listen to things that are going to get you outside of your own head. So it may not be my podcast, but listen to people like maybe like an Ed Milet, right? Or someone like that. Someone get your mindset. And here's the thing: if you're overwhelmed or whatever, it means your mindset is the foundation of everything. If you don't have the right mindset, you're going to run into problems. And if you're overwhelmed and like you're put out and you're jaded, and guys, look, the industry's not for the weak, right? The mortgage. So one is give yourself some credit. If you've been in the industry and you've been hustling and you've been grinding and everything's been and it is what it is, give yourself some credit because a lot of people throw in the towel. This industry does not suffer fools, right? Like it is not for the weak. So like give yourself some credit and some grace for being strong, but work on your mindset. That's the advice. And it's going to be like the message is going to be different. The messenger is probably going to be different too. Like they may listen to me and be like, I don't got it. But then maybe they hear something KT says in like a moment of like saying like, hey, this is something that I failed at. And then this is what turned me around. But you got to listen to those stories because you've got to find the right message to get your mindset right. Because without that, it really doesn't matter what AI tool, what lead generation source, what website, what CRM or anything else is going to help you if your mindset ain't right.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think that a lot of loan officers have lost their confidence, people that have been successful in previous years for years. And then 2022 happened. And I just feel like a lot of loan officers lost their confidence, Jason. That's how I feel
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Maybe even me to some degree. Right.
Mhm.
And I've talked to other top producers and I can see the shift now. Now we're shifted back. We went to, we all went back to the basics and now we're all starting to win again. And we're starting to not let the economy or let the market dictate what our results are going to be. And just getting back to the things. It's like it used to be low hanging fruit. You could just walk along and just pick up fruit off the ground or just pick it
Mhm.
from eye
Yep.
level. Well, now you got to climb up the tree.
Yep.
You got to do a little work.
Yep.
And some people aren't used to that. So when you
100%.
get back to the basics, you put in the work, you'll be successful. And I'll just, I'll wrap it up in saying that. But anyway, Jason, I appreciate you being here. I think it's important that people hear this message. if we're going to conquer our time, we're going to conquer our activities, we're going to conquer and be able to scale at the level that we want to have the success so that we can live the lives that we want to live. It's conversations like these, and it's, you know, little tidbits of nuggets that you might be like, oh, okay, I didn't really think about it like that before. Loan officer with the most friends wins, right? That's important. Remember that because it's important. And if you can, tackle one skill set at a time and get really good at it and you start seeing results, you start putting into practice, you guys are going to win. You're going to close more loans and you're going to see the success that you want.
Absolutely.
Jason, thank you so much for being here, dude. Really appreciate you. I've always loved and respected you and think the world of you. And to be able to spend time with us is greatly appreciated.
Well, likewise, brother. Thanks for having me on. And again, shout out to DC Darren Copeland for being along on the journey. And I'm sure he'll be on the episode soon enough.
Awesome. Sounds good, man. We'll talk to you soon, Jason.
Thanks,
Thanks,
brother.
everyone.